So ladies, gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new DCU News Roundup video. So I'm back from my vacation in Rome, and there's a few things that I missed over the past few days, of which I definitely want to get into with regards to just DCU updates, Superman filming, even The Sandman Season 2, among other things. Now, the first story that I want to get into definitely intrigued me for a few reasons, because we had James Gunn invite a bunch of comic book writers and whatnot, one of them being Scott Snyder, to the set of Superman. And Scott Snyder decided to actually write about his experience on his blog visiting the set of Superman. Now, I've got a few things here that I want to read out, just some little tidbits that I found very interesting, but there's something else that has happened with regards to this blog that may have been deleted that has piqued my interest, and I don't know if people have realized it, and we'll get to that in just a second. So he says, so I flew down, met everybody at the hotel. The hotel had like DC comic books all over the place. It was awesome. And it's this whole sort of soundstage set up almost in the middle of rural Georgia. It just pops up out of nowhere. There's 30 big sound stages, and it's awesome. There's this whole little town built up around it, and we got to go on set. I've never been on a movie set in earnest before. The actors were incredibly kind and said very nice things about the comics and about DC and all of it. Just to interject here, this is the part of the paragraph where certain things were retracted, and more on that in a second. And James Gunn came out and was just the biggest fan of comic books from the go. You could see he just took the time to talk to John Ostrander, which was so nice, and pull him aside and talk to him about the creation of Mr. Terrific, because it was the anniversary of Mr. Terrific. It was just such a good time. We all got along great, and then we got to see some of the conceptual material, and it was just fantastic. And then again here, this is where some stuff was cut out. And the thing I can say without giving anything away or without spoilers is everybody involved in this is a true fan of Superman, of the legacy, of the character, and of the comics in a really big way, which is just obviously really great to hear about. And also he expands on that here by saying, but I think the thing is, over the years, the studio and the comic book publisher have always been somewhat separated. And it's not like they're completely integrated now, but there's a transparency and a relationship and an enthusiasm above all for both sides. Both entities to talk to each other and be in communication, and it's a wonderful thing to see. And I honestly believe with my entire heart that Superman and the entire DCU are in fantastic hands with James and with all of his team. Again, everyone there couldn't have been nicer, couldn't have been more enthusiastic. They were all well read about comics as well as all of it, and on top of that, it was really nice to see how happy everybody was on set. Just a big nod to James Gunn and the way he runs a set, because everybody there seemed happy and excited to be a part of the production. Now, you do have some people saying, well, of course he would say these things, of course he would, and it's like, well, I guess, but I'm sure he went to set, Scott Snyder, and had a pretty damn good time, and got to see everybody being really happy with the way James Gunn ran things, and it's also mentioning some details that have now been retracted. So what am I on about there? Now, I do want to say, just right out the gate, if stuff like this has been taken away from the article, I guess I don't want to get in depth about it myself, but it's really confusing to me. And what's confusing is that the details that have been retracted, it isn't exactly a massive spoiler. But yet, I am seeing articles from comicbook.com being taken down, not like DMCA'd, but it's like they've deleted their own article. There's another article here from CBM saying, we've had to remove Snyder's descriptions that were included below due to possible legal concerns, and we'll update the post as soon as we hear back from Mr. Snyder. Now, I don't know if they're going to hear back, but yeah, that's probably why comicbook.com also took their article down, but I went on the Wayback Machine and I can see the article that they posted, and essentially their headline was DC Scott Snyder reveals new details about comic creator set visit, and it sheds new light on James Gunn's DC reboot. So what is the big thing? Again, I'm not going to get into it, and some of you may be like, well, Boba, why are you talking about this if you're not even going to get into it that much? Well, I'm kind of doing it in a roundabout way. All Scott Snyder basically said, without getting into too much detail here, is that, hey, David Corenswet, kind of saw him in the Superman suit, was lovely, but that's why you just see in now the new edited blog post him just saying, oh yeah, you know, all the actors were lovely and whatnot. He said something about Nicholas Hoult, talking about all their Superman shirts. But there was another detail with regards to, and this is what I think was taken out because of Scott Snyder taking out of his blog post, perhaps he was asked to do so, in where he said he saw something being filmed. And all I'm going to say about it is that it was a filming taking place between Lex Luthor and Superman. And I still don't get why this is a big deal, because, you know, James Gunn is gone above and beyond to say, yes, surprisingly, Lex Luthor is the main villain. Surprisingly, Clark Kent, Superman, is the main protagonist. So I don't get it. Maybe some of you have already read the original blog post. It's just, I find it weird that this is certain parts of it has been removed. And for what? Like, I know exactly what's been removed. I've cross-compared them, and I don't think it's really a big deal. Not at all. Not at all, really. I mean, you can get into some speculation there between the scene that he saw being filmed with regards to the language and a specific word that he used. But it's not like, again, it's not like a main plot part has been revealed. It's not like there's a moment in where he described, okay, well, I saw the engineer grab this kryptonite shard and shove it into David Corenswet's Superman emblem, and because of that, he's now been, I don't know, dosed with kryptonite, and he's poisoned in this one scene I saw filming. It wasn't anything like that, so I don't know. I just thought I'd put that out there, but I do recommend reading Scott Snyder's whole blog for a bit more of an in-depth posting about his experience. I just took a couple of snippets out of that and wanted to mention how I noticed that certain coverage had been deleted. But in other news, ladies and gentlemen, we also have James Gunn confirming the castings for Ma and Pa Kent, which some of you may be like, okay, well, that's interesting. We knew about this a while ago. Why is he only talking about it now? I think it's the kind of thing, as I always say, maybe behind the scenes, they basically kind of got the role, but certain legal things still needed to maybe be ironed out. But he said, happy anniversary to my favorite Kansas farmers, Ma and Pa Kent, who will be played by Pruitt Taylor Vince, an actor I've wanted to work with since I saw him in James Mangold's Heavy in '95, and a delight for neither how. Ma and Pa Kent first appeared in Superman #1, May 18th, 1939. Clark's parents had a few names until they were formally named John and Mary Kent in Superman 53 in 1948, a retelling of Superman's origin story. Jonathan and Martha, as their formal names, were established in later issues. And then he has some artwork here from the amazing Superman for All Seasons, and he gives a bit of credit to, obviously, the issue of Superman for All Seasons, the publication date, the writer, the artist, the colorist, the letterer. Just, again, kind of showing you how Gunn is going above and beyond to credit everyone in the panels, or who made these panels for Superman for All Seasons, showing how much of a big fan he is, down to the colorists, the letterers, to not only, obviously, the artists and the writers of Superman for All Seasons. Now, as you guys know, we've already covered Jonathan and Martha Kent quite a bit here. I mean, I don't think they're going to be included in the movie to an absolutely crazy huge presence, but I do feel like they're going to be nicely kind of peppered in there in all the right moments that you would want to see. Maybe with Clark returning home, maybe seeking some guidance from a Jonathan and Martha in where both of them are alive. I know there's a bit of a debate about that whenever we get into Jonathan still being alive. We also had Gunn reply to the recent Booster Gold information that was floating around there that we covered in my previous news roundup. So we have this user saying, hey, Mr. Gunn, is the rumor that Booster Gold will be recorded on July 8th true? Will it be the next big DCU series after Peacemaker Season 2, or will it be the Amanda Waller series? Now, Gunn says, although we're still working on Booster Gold, production isn't imminent, and that story posting is completely false. So once again, guys, another thing going out there that was false. I did say in my video, along with many people pointing out, that Production Weekly, and not that this was Production Weekly, but it was another website like Production Weekly, I forget the name from the top of my head, but they aren't always reliable with what they may have heard about, I don't know, these kind of tentative dates that they're listing. I gave the example of how on Production Weekly we heard that the Batman originally originally had this tentative production date for November of 23. Then it got pushed back to this tentative date of March of 2024. And I was just saying around that time, I mean, this doesn't seem reliable. Do we really think that the Batman's going to start filming at the same time as Superman, James Gunn's Superman, when the Batman hasn't even got an announcement of a finished script, no actors being cast for main roles or anything like that? So do you know what I mean? You need to take this stuff with a grain of salt. I think websites like Production Weekly do hear legitimate things about production, but I think half of it most of the time is tentative. They may get some people working on the production from, various roles, but when it comes to dates and stuff like that, I think everyone was realizing that, hey, is Booster Gold really going to start shooting in the next couple of months or whatever it was, when we haven't even heard about the writers, anybody cast for the show? It just didn't really add up. So there's a little bit of an update on that story. Booster Gold seems to be a little bit of a ways away. But now kind of pivoting back to Superman here, this was something I was a little bit anxious about. With regards to me having just gone to Rome, and even though I'm back now, I thought that you guys could have been seeing a glimpse at the Superman suit on set, and I wasn't going to be there for it. But lo and behold, hasn't happened. But we thought it could have happened because there was a lot of buzz about the filming in downtown Macon. Because, one thing I'm really itching to see as well is David Corenswet's Clark Kent look, like in the blazer, in the buttoned-up shirt. But they wouldn't tarp because of that. Do you know what I mean? And I still don't get why they would tarp because of the Superman suit if we've already seen it. Granted, we need to have a bit of a better look at it from different perspectives, but would Gunn really be that protective? Maybe he might be if he's worried about how the backlash has been recently, that maybe people would just dig into it even more if they get like a really 500-meter away shot of it. It would just kind of compound on the negativity surrounding the suit, maybe. Or maybe it's, again, nothing to do with any of that, and it's something bigger, maybe other heroes, other villains, something we're not even considering right now. But keep your eyes peeled because filming is happening, but it seems to be quite locked away. Now, another thing, guys, is that as we did get Craig Gillespie confirmed as the director of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, I just wanted to not only, obviously, I did mention it in the previous video, but on text, and I don't know if a lot of people saw that because a lot of people listen to the videos rather than, watch them. So we did have Gunn actually confirm it with a little green kind of tick there. But we have got Jacksonda releasing this concept of Millie Alcock as Supergirl in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, and where she's equipping that sword there. Lots of people ask about the sword, but if you're asking about the sword, then I recommend reading the comic book storyline. And obviously the suit is reminiscent of David Corenswet's Superman suit, but blended, obviously, with a bit of innovation here, with what James Gunn has gone for in the design of David Corenswet's Superman suit. So I really like this image because, again, Jacksonda does amazing concept artwork of anything like this, but he's managed to give us a concept of the Woman of Tomorrow suit, but with the David Corenswet Superman suit design at the same time. Still the same emblem, which I'm pretty insistent that it will be. It's not like you change up your emblem if that is your House of L emblem, so I'm glad that that's the same, but you've also got some of the lining there. Some people I know aren't a fan of that. But yeah, this could be, it is interesting to consider that this genuinely could be like what I would view as a low-key concept art, that they probably have concept art looking like this going into Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, if they want to adapt the actual look from the comic book, as well as weave in the literal influences from that of her cousin's suit that we've had revealed not too long ago. And then there's just other little pictures floating around out there of the cast of Superman just hanging out, whether that be working out together, to here we've got frickin' Eddie Gathegi, Maria Gabriela de Fria, to frickin' Jimmy there, to Lois Lane herself, Rachel Brosnahan, and Miss Teschmacher. So it's just nice to see that the cast are hanging around. Even a video there from Nathan Fillion just walking up to them. Kind of wild to imagine that if you were hanging around at this part of town, that you could have just bumped into the entirety, well, most of the Superman cast. Now, we've got another couple of things here which I don't want to read too deep into, but we have it being mentioned that actor David Denman, so he was a part of Brightburn, Mayor of Easttown, started following the cast of Peacemaker, James Gunn, and the cast of Superman, and also the official DC Comics account. Now, I know some people, when stuff like this gets brought up, say, well, this doesn't mean anything. I do tend to agree, but there has been lots of instances like this in where, recent follows with a bunch of mass followings of all the other actors does kind of and can lead into a little bit of a clue. So maybe David Denman could be a part of Peacemaker Season 2, especially as that is in the early days of its shooting schedule. And we have DCU Leaks here putting a GIF out there of Peacemaker, kind of maybe giving a little bit of a nod that they know something that this is indeed for Peacemaker Season 2. Now, for what role could he be playing? I don't know. But yeah, he is pretty much following everybody very specifically as of recently, so that mass follow, could mean something. But there is another actor of whom I would love to be in the DCU, and I'm sure many of you, under similar circumstances. Now, I feel like this one's a bit more reachy, but never say never. But James Gunn and Antony Starr have started following each other. Now, again, it's a bit of a reachy clue because some people might be like, okay, this doesn't mean much, but it's also interesting to be like, okay, well, what if it does? And many people I know want Antony Starr as the reverse Flash, but I don't think it would be a casting like that. I totally get it, but I really don't think so. I think it's going to be for a different role if, let's just entertain, if this actually did mean something for the sake of it, right? I see some people mentioning how it could be Krem of the Yellow Hills with regards to Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I think he's perfectly, suited to a role like that. But some people are also saying, what if he could be appearing in Peacemaker Season 2 as well? Which, would be really interesting. But other people are adding into that, what if he's playing Booster Gold? Which, I hadn't really considered that before. But Antony Starr as Booster Gold, I think could work really, really well. And it could also pair nicely with what if they actually wanted to backdoor pilot Booster Gold into Peacemaker Season 2 before he gets his own show. That's kind of a possibility that I wouldn't rule out. But at this point, this is like crazy speculation. It is just a following for now. But someone like Antony Starr appearing in the DCU is a very believable thing for me. Him playing Booster Gold is a vision that I can see very, very well. Entertaining the idea of him appearing as Booster Gold before his own show, but in another series like Peacemaker, is also another possibility that I could see very, very well. But again, he might not even be Booster Gold, if there was any merit to him even following James Gunn, and that meaning he could be in the DC Universe. So yeah, maybe it could be Krem, like a villain of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Maybe it could be someone else, but let me know who you would like Antony Starr to be if this means anything at all. Now, as for some other little bonus Superman news here, but for Superman and Lois, we learned that it will be releasing this fall on Thursday nights on the CW. And I have to admit, at the Warner Brothers upfronts, I was hoping we'd get a little something for Superman and Lois Season 4, but we kind of got nothing. I mean, if you think about the Warner Brothers upfronts, I mean, sure, we did get the June prequel series. We got one or two other things. They showed an image of the Penguin, just kind of saying that, we have the Penguin coming out later this year, but it didn't surprise me that we didn't get an official trailer for the Penguin for the reasons I've already said. If you think about it in the grand scheme of things, that official teaser trailer didn't come out too long ago. They showed the image of Superman, James Gunn's reveal, that is. But yeah, not much came out of it, but I was thinking like, okay, Superman and Lois, a trailer for that, but no. So, I will be covering Superman and Lois, the final season. Very much so looking forward to seeing what happens there, especially with Michael Cudlitz as Lex Luthor. But I was honestly expecting around this time to be going a little bit in depth on the trailer, but we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for something like that in the future. But we did get a little nugget of another show that I've covered on the channel. Now, I don't know how many people are going to tune into this part of the video, but it's not a trailer, but it's a nice little bit of promo for like, hey, we're still coming out, and that is The Sandman on Netflix. Now, we have a tweet here from Netflix, The Sandman account on Twitter saying, the Endless have finally assembled, introducing Adrian Lester as Destiny, Esme Creed Miles as Delirium, and Barry Sloane as the Prodigal in the next season of The Sandman. It's going to be one hell of a family reunion, and that is obviously with reference to, if you're familiar with The Sandman or if you aren't, let's just say that there is, kind of a family meal with the Endless. In Sandman Season 1, you got to see death, desire, despair, but you didn't really see a whole bunch beyond that. The Sandman is such a big, crazy story, very non-linear. You know, this is why it was so hard to adapt before Netflix managed to successfully adapt it. So, you know, I'm a huge fan of this show, and I can't wait to get into these characters of the Endless in season 2, as well as the other characters they're going to have to get into. Like, we know they're exploring Orpheus, and, you know, I don't know how far to get into stuff like that, but I expect to see a casting for Hades. There's other stuff with regards to Hell and Gwendolyn Christie's Lucifer, and certain other, you know, events that will happen, which will lead into characters such as Loki and Thor and many others getting involved. It's just going to get nuts. Now, I mean, it's interesting. When I covered The Sandman, it did very well on my channel, but it's the kind of show that is like, you know, it simmers in the oven for a long time, because it's been a minute since The Sandman came out, and you know, it peeps its head above, and then that's when people start getting hyped. So, you know, I can't wait for any kind of first official teaser outside of this one, where you can see Tom Sturridge just looking badass as Dream again, as he sat down there, and a few of the other characters, and teasers for, you know, some, you know, costumes and what they're wearing, even Death wearing something a little bit different. But either way, Sandman, guys, it's good to finally get some official peeps out of it for season 2. Let me know if you're excited for it. Let me know if you've read the source material, or even just let me know if you're a fan of the Netflix season 1 and you're just like gearing to go for this upcoming season. But let me know what you think of that and every single story that we covered in today's video. You know, I missed out on a little bit, not as much as, you know, what I was kind of thinking, which I'm kind of glad about, because, you know, I'm sure I would have been, you know, pretty stressed in Rome if there was like a great look at the Superman suit that I just couldn't say anything about other than maybe on social media. So if anything like that happens, guys, you know, I'll now be around to post about it. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, so you don't miss out on any future updates like this. But I'm gonna love you and leave you. So once again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see all you people of the DCU in the next video. Goodbye.